Welcome, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers. And I'm here with you to help you build your best cloud computing career. Maybe you're yearning for your first solution architect job. Maybe you desire your first cloud architect job. Maybe you first desire your first cloud engineer job, or your first enterprise architect job, or even a network engineer job. Whatever the case is, I want to help you get hired, which we like to call around here cloud hired. Personally, I've been working in technology now for over 25 years. Actually, it's scary. I realize how old I am when I say that. And I've been helping others get their first tech job or get promoted in tech for more than 2 decades. And I want to help you build your best cloud computing career. So you know exactly how to get that first cloud architect job, first solution architect job, first cloud engineer job, or any career that you desire. See, I know one thing after years and years of coaching. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And if you've got the right goals in the right direction, you can get to the top rather quickly. But if you don't know where you're going, you can zigzag around for years and years and years and never get to your goals. So that's why I'm here, completely free to kind of help you build your best cloud computing career. Again, for that first solution architect job, cloud architect job, enterprise architect job, cloud engineer job, I just want you to build your best career. That's why we're here. So you can come and you can ask questions, tell us your goals, and ask us how to get there. And we will tell you how to get there, because I want everyone that wants a cloud job to get a cloud job, purely. So I want everybody happy and hired. That's really everything that I'm here for. So let me go over a couple things that we have going on for you. On Thursday, we have our completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar, and it's going to be a great experience. People come in from all over the world, and I'll tell them the following: how to leverage their life experience to convince the hiring manager they have real experience in their new job. I will tell you what needs to be on your resume. I will tell you what hiring managers dream about in the perfect employee, which is really critical to get your first tech job, or first cloud architect job, or first solution architect job when you have no experience. Really critical information there. I will tell you lots of things. I will tell you how to skip HR. I will tell you exactly the skills that you need to learn, what needs to be on your resumes, etc., until we get to, so you'll know exactly how to get hired. Now, if you want that first cloud architect or solution architect job, guess what? We've got a cloud architect career development program that will help you get your first cloud architect job. It's helped so many people this year get their first cloud architect job. This week, we had somebody that was a psychologist that got hired as a cloud architect. You can see story after story after story on my YouTube channel, and we only give you a sample of them. One of my students get hired every day, and we've got a cloud architect career development program for your first cloud architect job. And guess what? If you want your first cloud engineer job, we've got a cloud engineer career development program, again, to help you get your first job. And my team will pop those links in the chat box, as well as a 20% coupon to try and make it as affordable for you all as possible. Join our community, sign up for our email list, follow us on LinkedIn. We have so much stuff coming out there for you, and we'll do, because we want to help you all get cloud hired. And we've got a LinkedIn and resume workshop in about a month. Average student at Go Cloud Careers' biggest challenge is telling the recruiters and hiring managers they're not ready until they're trained. Our people don't need to apply for a job. The world comes after them. They get, literally speaking, harassed by people that desire to hire them. So if you want to be like my students, take the inexpensive, free, it's not free, the LinkedIn and resume workshop, and we'll help you build the cloud career so you can be just like our students. Now, at that point, you'll have the interview. So at the interview point, it's going to be up to your training to determine whether you get hired or not. But you'll be getting interviews. And if you're not getting hired on those interviews, we can train you and get you cloud hired like we do everybody else. So at this point, please, give me a hashtag cloud hired. Tell me where you're actually at in the world and start bringing me some questions, because I want to help you all build your best career. I can tell you I'm in Port St. Lucie, Florida. I can tell you Chris from my team. I know right now he's in St. Petersburg, Florida. I know Eddie Patrick from my team has been in Bamenda, Cameroon. I know Alonzo's in Katy, Texas, which is right near Houston. And I know Leo's in Sao Paulo. But where are the rest of you? And actually, while we're at it, while I'm waiting for you guys, I'm going to let you know we're going to be completely increasing our YouTube output to give you so many more videos to really help you build your cloud computing career. Hello, everyone. Happy New Month, Eddie. It's interesting. In Greece, we say Kalomina. Happy New Month. Yes, exactly. Up and up. Hello. Good to see you. My name is Mike. Hello, guys. Good to see you. Ashburn, Virginia from Mumbai, fantastic. Puerto Rico, I love that. Haven't been there in a little while. Hello, sir. How can I start a company in cloud or DevOps? Well, this is the first question. Do you have experience in cloud or DevOps? Because if you don't, how are you going to really help your company or your customers at all? So the first thing is that, you need to figure out what your skill is as a new business. So there's no possibility for you to compete with an Accenture or a Bearing Point or a Deloitte. These teams and consulting companies are great at what they do, but they hire to a specific market, the people that like management consultants, etc. Now, if you want to basically start your own company, you need to do the following. First, you're going to have some experience, so you've got something that you can offer to someone. Because if you have nothing to offer, why should they hire you or why should they buy your services? Secondly, you need to be a niche. A niche is something different. For example, our niche is getting people hired. We take all the people that have done all those certification courses that do 10 certifications and no employers are interested in them, and we get them hired. That's our niche. Well, everybody else is focused on useless certifications. We're getting people hired and paid more, hired every day and paid more than they've ever dreamed about. That's our niche. So figure out what it is that you're good at. Is it that you're good at cloud networking? Great. Are you good at cloud security? Great. But find a niche, because you can't compete with the big players on just the basis of alone. You've got to do something better that you can do if you've got a niche. So you got to shrink it down. I call it niche down to blow up. So first you have to have some experience and competency, or you got to have a lot of money to go hire the right people. Then you got to build the right team. And the right team is going to be based upon the services that you offer. So realize these are not one-man jobs. So for example, if I design a solution and sell it to the customer, there's usually an account manager that goes with me. So I at least need that. Then when it needs to be built, I'm going to need some cloud engineers. And cloud engineers may be too expensive for some of the builds, so I might want a cloud admin or some DevOps engineers. So in order to deliver these things, because these jobs are so different, you're going to need a big budget to hire some very expensive professionals first. So there's that. So now you understand a little bit of, first you got to have a product, and the product needs to be good. And if the product's not good, you've got no business whatsoever. Then you need to make sure you've got some context. So for me, if I wanted to start a cloud consulting company, it's nothing. And here's the reason why. I've been an architect for 25 years. I know CEOs and CIOs and CTOs across all these global businesses. It's easy for me to say, Mrs. CEO, it's Mike. I'm looking to do some cloud consulting. Do you need anybody? And she'll say, yes, Mike. We've worked with you in the past and we love you. But I have that brand. I also have the brand of coming in and taking over and transforming businesses, et cetera, et cetera. If I didn't have that brand, who would I call? What CEO could I call and say, please give me business? And when it comes to sales, we have to sell what's called the veto, the very important top officer. They're the people with the money. We're not selling to engineers. We're selling to executives. So we need to be executive relevant for whatever we do. Next is hiring the team. You're going to need to have the budget for the team. So when you hire people, you need to know you can pay their salaries for at least 6 months to a year based on savings, because you don't ever want to hire someone and not be able to give someone a job that's stable. So you got to assume that if you did no money for 6 months to a year, your employees are stable. At least I feel that's important. At least that's the way I conduct business. Next, after that, you've got your team. Now it's your promotion. How are you going to promote your business? Now, if you've got lots of experience, it's relatively pretty easy, because you call the right people, you pop up a website, you get on social media, you create some search engine optimized content, and you give presentations everywhere. You buy some ads, and that's typically what it's going to state. But you can't do the whole cloud. You can only do a subsection of the cloud initially, because you can't compete with a big player. It's just not possible, unless you've got billions of budget to compete with a big player. Because, an Accenture, a KPMG, a Capgemini, Bearing Point kind of company, they can spend millions and millions and millions and millions and millions to outspend you in terms of ads. So you can't compete that way. What you've got to compete on is the one thing you do better than anybody else. That's your competition. And, that's the secret to your career as well. So what you can do better than anybody else, that's the secret. And I tell people to leverage the superpower. I'll give you an example. Last week, we had a really great student of mine. She got her first cloud architect job, and she's super excited. And it's a big, big lifestyle change for her. She had a master's degree in psychology, and she was working as a mental health tech. And when she first asked me, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, she says, Mike, can I do it? I have a healthcare background, not a tech background. And I said, of course you can. And she says, why? And I said, well, when you communicate, you seem to communicate well. You seem to have a high level of emotional intelligence, high level of integrity. I said, those are the skills that are needed for the cloud architect. In fact, we did practice interviews and I showed her how to show those skills, which made her stand out. Now she's got our first cloud architect job from one of the world's largest banks with zero experience in tech. And that's the key. When you do a business, when you start something, you got to do what you do, your niche, better than everybody else in the world. I'm going to also tell you one more thing. Prepare to work 100 hours a week, minimum, for the first year. Because in the beginning, you don't even know what you need until you actually see it. You do something, it's successful, and then your other customers want this, and you start to deploy this, and then you realize, okay, we've grown too fast, we got to go clean this up. So figure a 100-hour work week for the first year, and then after that, if it makes it, you'll be really happy. But knowing being an owner of a business is not like working part-time. It's not like there's some smart people running into the background and you can just go to the beach and drink Muay Thai. No. You're going to be busy than you've ever had in your life. But get the right skills, find your niche, build the right marketing plan, and you can have an incredible career in your own business. And I encourage you to do so, but get some experience first. Thrilled for your question, news, history updates. Question, what days do you have your live classes? I want to know so I can choose the best program. Our live classes for the architects are Tuesdays at 10 a.m. and Eastern time, which equates to 3 p.m. UK time. They are Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, which equates to 9 p.m. UK time. And they are Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern time, and which is 5 p.m. UK time. We picked these positions because that covers the majority of our students, which are in North America, South America, Europe, the UK, and we've got a lot of students in Africa. So these are the best time frames for the majority of our students. We have lots of students in Asia and India and Australia and New Zealand and Singapore, etc. And that's not the most comfortable time for them, but they still come to classes and they do exceedingly well. So those are the times for the Cloud Architect program. The Cloud Engineer program, by comparison, is taught on Tuesdays at 4 p.m., if I'm correct, Chris. Fridays at 12 p.m. with the architects, because it's the leadership day. And then on Saturday...
Mike.
Yes.
Friday is 1 o'clock.
Friday is 1 p.m. Sorry, Friday is 1 p.m. for both programs. And Saturday at 9 a.m. for the engineers. And etc. And if somebody from my team can pop that in the chat box in case I made it a little challenging to understand. Like, I've been in your program for 2 weeks. I'm still confused and do not see the classes that will give you the basic foundation of the topic. It seems like you are expected to be knowing stuff. Miles, you probably have not gone to the previous recordings. And what happened is about a month ago, my team decided to take it and break it into two things. They thought it would be easier for the students to follow. I kind of disagreed, but most people have been happy with it. So you've got to get into the weekly classes, etc., where you actually learn the things. Where in the weekly classes, that's where we teach architecture. So it's etc., etc., etc. That's where you need to go to see that. That's where we do the technical instruction. It's live. So please actually go to the live classes, watch the live classes.
Mike, I think this is an opportunity to talk about our teaching style, the way our program works. We don't run in batches. Not everybody starts at the same point. You usually discuss that when we talk about these, because a lot of people expect that they'll all be starting at the same point when they join our program.
Okay, fair point. So, Miles, in every class, what we do is we teach architecture. One day it'll be networking, one day it'll be big, and that's where you go in. And that's ultimately where the tech is going to be. There's still foundational sections that you obviously haven't gone through yet, and you have been through either the classes and other places, but you need to get through them. And if you need, my team can actually help you. Send in an email to info@gocloudcareers.net and my team will help you. But as we always mention, we'd never start anybody in their own section. There's no zero starting point. It's learn from the fire hose, just like Cisco would say, which is how they train their engineers. You come to the program, you come to class. In the beginning, what I want you to work on is the following. Your plan. What do you want to be? We have to do that. Learn how to present yourself. Who are you? All this stuff. And that because the plan will determine the technology. As you get into the program, you'll be going to live classes 3 times per week. Again, 3 times per week, 3 times per week, 3 times per week. And in those classes, we do the tech training. So please ask questions like this in class, but also watch the previous courses. And they stand alone for the following reasons. I've got some people that are on a course for a year. I mean, hopefully not, but some people need a year to actually get hired. And for that reason, I let you come in, but each class, one's a banking class, one's a networking class, one's a security class, one's a retail class, one's a social media app. We rotate through them. So please watch those weekly classes. Please, please, please. In most cases, when you hear this, people are not watching that at all. They're looking at the soft skills modules, the leadership modules, and all the other stuff, and they're actually skipping the pre-recorded classes that were the previous courses. Now, there's at least 100 of those classes and well over 500 hours of technical training that I'd love you to go through. So please do look for that. So we do our training very specifically. I don't know when people are going to be hired, and I don't know when people are not going to be hired. And, some people do it in 16 weeks. Some people do it in 6 months. Some people do 8 months. And a lot of that has to do with someone's motivation. But not just motivation, it also has to do with something else. The amount of time they've got to commit to something and the speed that they learn. And in many cases, especially from dealing with tech people with previous tech experience, it's how long it takes for them to unlearn engineering in order to learn how to be an architect. So that's often something else. So depending upon your plan, you'll know exactly where to go because it's truly, truly, truly dependent upon your plan. And your plan is unique to you. So come to the classes and you'll still be confused on the tech stuff for a couple of weeks, I promise you. And Miles, I tell you, and everybody in every class, if they're new, you will be confused for 2 to 4 weeks until it makes sense to you, until you understand what these technologies are. So it hasn't been a month yet, so I expect you to still be a little lost. And my students in the class will also be able to tell you that right now. But please make sure you're getting their weekly class recordings. I'm sure you're missing them if you're asking these questions. So that's what we do our classes, and you can come in and out at any time. So if you're stuck on something, submit something to the technical request channel on Slack and somebody will answer you. But please, please, please go out, take advantage of those resources. Anthony Gonzalez, new student here. For anyone on the fence, this course is 10,000% worth the price. You had an AWS CA2. You now recognize how little that means. In a few weeks, my knowledge and understanding is a different level. Anthony, I've watched you progress, and I'm super excited to see it as well. That's why we give you the flexibility to come in when you need and leave what you need. And that's why we've done it. You can come in when you want. And Anthony, you're only here for a short period of time, 2 or 3 weeks, but you've attended every class. I've seen you in every class. In every class, you've come off mute. You've asked questions. You've taken part. And that's why you're not lost. You've been on Slack. I know all you've been. At some point, you even booked a private session and bought a private session with a member of the team in addition to all these things. So you're there. You're engaged. You're not going to be lost. And that's the key. We want people to come to class, participate in class, turn on their cameras just like they would in the real world environment and come to class. So thank you so much on your kind words. We've gotten people hired almost every day last week. Pretty much happens almost every day. So we do it for a reason. And why does our stuff look a little wacky to the people that are not used to it? For a reason. I'm the only person that's making these certification courses that's actually been a real architect. Now, there's some that say they were, and if you look at the resumes on LinkedIn, it's architect/engineer, which is an engineering position. I've got 2.5 decades being an architect. And the things that we actually need are so much different than the things people think they need. One of my graduates in England said, Mike, I love this job. I got a new Prius. It was delivered to me free in my driveway. I'm earning lots of money. I don't work hard, but Mike, it's been a year. I've not been anything other than the credit card buy that you told me, taking people and entertaining clients and going to meetings and writing statements of work. Am I ever going to look at the tech? And I said, no. Well, I've had that conversation with 500 people this year. Not 500 people. I'd say about 100 people of our graduates or so that have been hired. They're the exact architects we are. The high-paid business executive / management consultant kind of architects. The kind that work at AWS where they work, Microsoft, Cisco. I've got people working there, graduates. We've got them at KPMG, Deloitte, Capgemini, I think is one of them. I know Bearing Point, I think is another one of them. JP Morgan Chase. There's just so many others where our students work. And that's the key. It looks and feels different because it's very soft related, very soft skills, very leadership skills. So please make sure everybody takes advantage of those weekly group calls. That's the classes, that's the coaching. And you can go back to the first ones we ever had. Isn't that great? You can watch hundreds of them if you truly desire it for extra bonus. Kenji, no, we have 0 prerequisites to start our program. Because we know, unless you've already been an architect, you probably have no idea what the job actually is. And unless you've been a management consultant, which is called a business architect, you probably don't know. So even we've got engineers. The engineers sometimes tell me they have the hardest time transitioning to architects. They're like, Mike, but I want to do this. And I know. And you know what it's like, Kenji? For the engineers, it's kind of like I've done Taekwondo fighting my entire life, and then I went to Israel and learned Krav Maga. I'm a good martial artist, but it's like, whoa, this is very different. And, you know, I think in Greek. And when I go to Spain or Panama, I'm thinking in English or Greek and trying to translate into Spanish. And it takes a long time till I can think in Spanish. So we have no prerequisites because we start everybody at the foundation. We need to know that you're really, really good to go, that everybody has all the skills they need to be truly exceptional. So by doing that, we started the foundation. Kenji, if I told you that almost nothing's changed in the last 25 years, if you truly knew the foundations, I wouldn't be joking. How much is it? You know, I mean, the cloud is nothing more than a network and a data center. So easy. It's so much easier to learn. So Kenji, we have no prerequisites. We know you would do great. And if you have really good fundamentals like the kind we teach, you'll understand nothing is new. I mean, AWS made a big press release last year. We allow east-west routing, meaning routing between subnets. Cisco did it in 1985. A week ago, 2 weeks ago, new press release that you can now run IPsec over direct connection. I did that in 1999 at Cisco. Over direct IPsec over private LAN. It's nothing new. Now you can get traffic flow information off a transit gateway. Cisco NetFlow 2002 or 2000, not 2022. So the point is, when your foundations are good, and you know what a VLAN is, and you understand BGP, that AWS Advanced Networking is nothing you can learn in a week if you really wanted to, or less. So no, we have no prerequisites. We assume everybody comes from nothing, and we build it up straight from the ground. That's why the first thing we have is a tell me about yourself video and a career plan. Well, here's why. The plan of a psychologist is different than a plan of a developer. Each one has to do different things and overcome different hurdles. And they're not necessarily either the one versus the other, but they're different. And that's really the key, is you have to learn for your career. So come with whatever your background is. We'll find a way to work with it and make you much better. And actually really great, but you might already be great. That's why I said, much better. Gee, hi, Mike. I always hear migrate workflows to the cloud. What is a workflow in particular? Here's a workflow. How do people work? So, for example, and this is why engineering and architecture is so different. When you go to a store, what's the process for you to come in? Do you open a door? Does it have sliding doors? When you get into a store, are you greeted by somebody? If you're then greeted by that person, does that person then show you the product and consult you on that product? If they do, and you go to a dressing room to try some clothes on, for example, are they putting some kind of like an RFID tag to track the clothes to make sure you don't steal them? Then you come out of the dressing room and you go to the counter. Is there something to do while they're keeping you busy in the counter? Then you go to pay. Are they collecting any information from you, such as your email address, your phone number, so they can mark it back to you? Then the transaction occurs. Then there's a payment processor. So this is typically the kind of thing which is referred to as a workflow. How does any business do its business? And the real thing is that the technology we have can truly change people's workflows. So for example, if inflation goes up or minimum wages go up, what'll ultimately happen is, and I'm not saying good or bad anywhere between, I'm just saying in reality, let's say minimum wage goes up. The next thing you realize is companies saying, Mike, or whoever the architect is, can I get rid of those people in the reception? Can I have a customer self-checkout so I don't have to pay the people there? So that changes the workflow. That's part of digital transformation. And then in the same restaurant, it's hard to find employees, so they decide to build a robot. Again, so same kind of issue. So this changes the workflow. So architect work is exclusively about understanding the business. How does the business make money? How does the business work currently? How can we make the business work more efficiently in the future? How do we, for example, reduce the employee cost? How do we boost employee productivity? How do we optimize supply chain? How do we create a new customer journey? All this stuff needs new workflows. So the way innovation occurs, the way cloud architecture occurs, or business architecture is as follows. You meet with the CEO of the company and the executive team, the whole C-suite, and you ask them, what are your business goals? They tell you. And then you're going to have to meet department heads of all the divisions and figure out what are their goals. And then you're going to have to get to the floor and literally watch how people work. That's part of the process if you're a really good architect. Especially in a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 architect job, you're going to be doing this. And the technical side is lower, but at these good premium jobs, you're going to be doing this. And then after you go to the customer site and you see how people work, you're going to determine, you're going to look at other businesses in this industry, other industries, look at what their competitive advantage is, look at your unique company and see, wow, they're really good at X, Y, and Z. How can we assist them with this along with their goals? Then what you do is you determine the optimal end state, the optimal employee journey or customer journey. And you map that out. It's called the business architecture. And then when you find out the part of that journey is a web server, you say, okay, I need this much compute capacity, this many virtual machines to be a web server. Now, if I'm going to need 10 virtual machines with 128 cores, I'm going to need a network load balancer to load share. And then you say, okay, my application server is another network load balancer, a bunch more virtual machines. Okay, a database. What kind of database am I using? Okay, well, we can take what you're doing here in a NoSQL database, and we can put it on something like MongoDB or Apache Cassandra. And then, what we then do is say, we go to our little cheat sheet or our store and says, we're going to do it in AWS. It's called a network load balancer. The virtual machines are called EC2 instances, and etc. Now we go to Azure and we say, guess what? This is going to be an Azure VM, and this is going to be an Azure load balancer. Or we go to Google and say, okay, now instead of the Google VMs the Google load balancers are called cloud load balancers, and the Google VMs are called compute engine instances. Same thing, every single case. Find out what the people are doing in the business, find out how to make the business better, figure out the technology that makes it work, and then go to your technology store. The way a construction crew would buy bricks from one of 3 hardware stores, you pick your cloud just like that. It's just a hardware store. It's just whoever sells you the rented data center. That's how you do innovation. And that's what we're talking about, migrating workflow in the cloud. I have a cloud security interview tip coming up. Any tips on what you should prepare? Yes. Don't talk about the tech. Talk about the transformation. So the first thing that you need to have an answer for is tell me about yourself, because it's the first question that comes in. And if it comes in and you mess it up, the whole interview is over, even if you didn't realize it yet. So you got to create rapport as fast as possible. Next, you should have an answer for why should I hire you? Because if you can't sell yourself in the job, they're not interested. It's a critical question. Understand if it's a real architecture interview, it's going to be related to security. So if I asked you, how do you secure In an enterprise environment, you need to know. And it can't be like a, I'll laugh and shield kind of answer. No. It's going to have to be a deep answer. So at the perimeter of your net, well, first we'll use a content delivery network to secure a web app. Then, for example, we'll use a network load balancer, 2 virtual next generation firewalls, then maybe another network load balancer, and maybe 2 different kinds of next generation firewalls, and then another network load balancer, and then 2 IDS IPS systems, and then an access control list, say a security group. Then you get to your servers. What are you doing? Host-based firewalls, anti-malware protection coming up, etc. Which services you're disabling. You got to be prepared to describe it like that. When you describe technology, you should respond to the following ways. What is the tech? How does it work? And why should I use it? So if I say, what is BGP? And someone says, I can configure BGP, I'm not interested. The interview's over. And I say, what is it? Most people can't even explain it. Why are they? How does it work and why I should use it? Because with architecture, it's not about the tech. It's about the transformation. Now you have to understand this is a business executive job. So you can't be using acronyms and you can't talk like an engineer. Or again, it's not going to be there. What they're looking for example, I had a couple of architects that got hired last week. They said, Mike, you know what they all said to me? I said, yeah, I know what they said to you. They said it was a breath of fresh air, having someone with good energy, executive presence, communication skills, leadership skills, etc. They were so happy you didn't talk about the tech. And they said, Mike, it's like you're a sage. They all said, wow, you speak well, you present well. I can see your leadership. You have executive presence and you're CXO relevant. I need you. And they all said, what we keep getting is someone that talks about tech. And we can't put them in front of the CXO leaders, and therefore we can't hire them. So focus on that. Remember, it's a business executive job. So work on your executive presence. Work on your CXO relevancy. What's the CEO care about versus a CFO versus a CTO? Make sure you've got some good executive writing skills to follow up that interview with a good thank you note. Make sure you can get your point out simply, easily, and effectively. What is the tech? How does the tech work? And why should you use it? Be prepared to show your energy, your enthusiasm, and passion about the work. Don't ask silly questions about what's the work-life balance like, because that's the end of the interview right then and there. They're hiring you because they have a problem, not because they're looking for somebody lazy to make demands on them. Now, it doesn't mean you shouldn't have work-life harmony, which is different than work-life balance, and you should have work-life harmony, but that's another story, and I'll make a video about that. But it's about showing the employer you're willing to go above and beyond, that your energy, enthusiasm, passion is good, but also your competency. You know, if I ask someone a question, what is object storage? And they tell me S3, that's not showing me competency. But if they describe it to me, what is the tech? How does the tech work? Why I should use it? I'm starting to feel pretty good about it. And then I get into more appropriate things, communication skills, soft skills. They are looking for soft skills. This is a soft skills job all day long. You'll be responding to RFIs, RFPs, RFQs, and you're going to be entertaining clients. So make it comfortable that you're a social person. In 1 year, I spent over $100,000 entertaining clients. Now, it was company money, but the point is that's how much entertaining clients you do as an architect, constantly. You could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on travel and entertainment for you and your clients. So keep that in the back of your mind. So be prepared to sell yourself. And here's one secret thing. When you get asked a question that you don't know the answer to, and you will, and it may be because someone like me is going to ask you a question I know you don't know, just to see how you're going to respond, and a lot of employers do that. But we don't ask questions to things that we don't know. You know what the showstopper is for hiring? The second somebody bluffs to us or lies to us. Interview is over. I've interviewed about 6,000 people at this point. I have a cookie jar in my office. I'm not joking. A cookie jar, and I didn't eat butter, flour, sugar, or cookies. And the second I ask someone a question, they bluff, which is a lie to me. Interview's over. Have a cookie, please. Have a cookie, please. Have a cookie, please. And you know why I give out the cookies? Because I don't want to hear another word they say, and I want them to have a good experience. I can't hire a liar. I don't want to hear or listen to a liar. I have no tolerance for liars in my world or my business, so there's that. So if you get asked a question you don't know the answer to, say, I'm sorry, I've not had the opportunity to work with the technology yet, but I'm highly energetic, highly motivated, and really love technology. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, and I can find the answers to things very quickly that I don't know. Now, if you'd like to check my competency, I'm an expert on next generation firewalls, security policies, and anti-social engineering training or whatever your skills are. And here's the reason why. If I just tell you W, don't think of a pink elephant. You just thought of a pink elephant. And here's the reason why. The brain doesn't process a no. We learned this from neuro-linguistic programming. Now, in this world, if you say, I'm sorry, I've not had the opportunity to learn the technology yet, but everything before that but is not there. Now, in our estimates, after asking thousands and thousands of recruiters and hiring managers over the last 20 years, because if you're going to be a coach, you got to be an expert on what your customer wants. We say, what do you want in the perfect employee? They say, I want someone that is technically competent, which is different than experience. Competency means being great at the job. They say someone I can trust. They say someone that's energetic, enthusiastic, and passionate about the work. They say someone that brings out the best in others with regards to emotional intelligence. They say someone that's willing to go above and beyond, and someone that's a great team player. So when you answer it like this, I'm sorry I've not had the opportunity to learn this technology yet, but I'm highly energetic, highly motivated, and I love technology. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, and I can find the answers to things quickly that I don't know. But if you want to check my competency, here, talk about X, Y, Z. And here's why you did that. You just told them they're everything you want. You just told them that you've got the energy, enthusiasm, passion. You just told them that you know what you know and know what you don't. And you showed them you're honest. You just showed them you're awesome. You'll get hired right then and there. In many cases, that's enough to get you hired. But if you lie, it's all over. So I recommend that. And if it's the right role and you have the skills, you should be good to go. So tell us how you did after the fact. Good luck. Do you need any specific certifications or qualifications to secure a job, or will you learn on the job? Unfortunately, there is no learning on the job for any of these careers. Now, the key is having the right skills, which are different than certifications. Certifications are very entry level, and that they're the name of a service and how to configure that service, which may be a skill or not. Now, in a world of a cloud admin role, which is like a super junior person that configures things, getting a certification like the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional is probably enough, because all that person is dealing with is the name of the service and how to configure that. Now, if you're looking for a bigger role, and there's some really good roles out there in tech, like a cloud architect or a cloud engineer, certification would nowhere be close to enough for these skills, and you're going to need the actual skills necessary for the job. So the point is there's not going to be any on-the-job training at all. And here's the reason. Once you're dealing with somebody's computer equipment, and whether you're doing it as an admin, an engineer, or an architect like me, in a matter of minutes, if you're not careful, you can cause billions of dollars of damage or even bankrupt the company. So for those reasons, it's going to be really, you can't get experience on the job. And that's why we created our program on the internships in our program. And that's why we're so effective getting people good, extremely high-paying cloud jobs as cloud architects and cloud engineers. But no matter what, you're going to need it. So the question I would have for you is, what do you desire to do? And if you tell me what you desire to do, then I can give you a plan to get to any career you want, but I need to know what you'd like. You could be a system designer like me. You could be an engineer, which is a very deep technical professional that basically plays things and optimizes things. You could be, for example, an admin person who just touches it and configures things. So I need to know what you'd like to do. There, I can give you an actual path, because these jobs are so different that they can each require extremely different training. So let me know more so I can help you more. W, thank you, Mike. Will my security architecture video on YouTube be enough practice for me to get the job? No. You have other training, but we'll use your video. My video will help you dramatically. But this is deep technology knowledge. The knowledge that I put in a 15-minute video is actually what you'd get, far more than you'd get in an AWS Advanced Security. It really is. But, it's not enough. So for a cloud security architect, you must be an expert on security. Expert. You must need to know how to design the security policy. What kind of training do the employees need, whether it's for social engineering or anti-phishing campaigns. You need to know about the various kinds of next generation firewalls and when to architect with multiple firewalls and when not to. How to be dealing with, IDS, IPS systems and logging kind of events. What kind of things need to be done on the host? What's the identity and access management structure look like for the 100,000 person enterprise? What kind of zero trust environment is in there? So these kind of things. So, there's that. So no, it's not going to be close to enough to get you a cloud security architect job. And it takes us about 500 hours to train somebody for a cloud security architect job. And, we teach a lot of networking in there. We teach a lot of security in there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's not going to be enough. I don't know what your architecture knowledge is. I don't know. Do you know how to do an ROI model, for example? Have you responded to RFIs, RFPs, RFQs? Do you know how to? Because they're going to ask you, have you presented at an interview and wowed people, because you're going to have to do it here? What's your executive presence like? I mean, when you talk, this is the next generation firewall, or this is a next generation firewall, which can help you because of X, Y, Z. I don't know that. Leadership skills, you're going to have to demonstrate some good leadership style in this interview. You're going to have to demonstrate business knowledge, business acumen. So, there's going to be that. You're going to have to show that you can sell you and sell them on whatever architecture they make present. You're going to have to prove that you can sell. So, there's going to be on that. So, no, I don't think that's going to be enough unless you've already done those other things. If you've got your business acumen, your leadership skills, your communication skills, your executive presence, your emotional intelligence training done, if you've done that, now you're 3/4 of the way there. And then if you've got strong knowledge of the various offerings that are out there, what could Cisco do? What could Palo Alto do? What is these SASE environments with regards to wide area networking and security? And you know how to design and implement them? Yeah, you'll pass it correctly. But what I've taught there is pretty much more of a high-end cloud architect security thing. A cloud security architect, you should have 10 times that knowledge on security, because that's the only thing they're going to be working on. But it will definitely help you there. And good luck. I'd like to know how it works out. I really hope it goes your way. Chris, you can go to the next one. Okay, technically cloud engineer. Can I work as a cloud engineer with the knowledge of DevOps? No, that's not even close. So to be a cloud engineer, here's what you need to know. First, you need to know the networking and the data center technologies, because you're going to be working with them, which really means BGP, IP addressing, subnetting and supernetting, route summarization, etc. It means WAN technologies such as IPsec tunnels, SSL-based VPNs, private lines, Ethernet over MPLS, software-defined networking, and SASE. It means knowledge of switching, which means VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, the kind of port channel, Ethernet channel, link aggregation group kind of thing. Knowledge of some protocols such as ARP and proxy ARP and DNS and DHCP. Then you need to understand servers and server virtualization, containers and container orchestration, the various storage area networks such as block storage and object storage, good understanding of file servers, good understanding of enterprise applications, which would help, but a good knowledge of databases as well for the cloud engineer. Now, they also need to have some good knowledge of firewalls and other types of security things. Now, after that, the cloud engineer they're going to be building things, so they've got to have very good hands-on skills. Architects don't touch the tech, but cloud engineers deep hands-on skills at minimum at the management console, but usually the CLI as well. Now, a good cloud engineer, for example, will have extreme mastery of Linux, almost to the level of a Linux engineer, because all the main servers in today's world are on Linux. The cloud engineer needs to be familiar with Linux scripting, such as bash shell scripting. The cloud engineer needs to have some relatively decent Python skills, and the cloud engineer should know Terraform or infrastructure as code. And the Those would be the skills needed to become a cloud engineer. Now with that, the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional would look nice as like a basic certification. I know it sounds like a fancy one, but it's pretty basic in reality. And I say this because my CCIE was 75,000 pages of reading, and we built the AWS Certified Associate and Professional book in 500 pages. So it's not that much by comparison. And it would be good on that to have either like a VMware or a Red Hat certification would be really nice along the way to actually show some good Linux skills. And that would really help you get a big head start. Big head start for cloud engineering. Great question, by the way. Excellent question. How to transition from an AWS Search Solutions Architect Associate to DevOps Engineer. Speaking from an electrical engineering background. Interesting. Coming from an electrical engineering background, I would think you'd want to go the other way and try to work as a solution architect, because it would be better pay and it would be better using your electrical engineering, which is probably some networking skills in there as well. But if you want to do DevOps, that's totally fine. It's a great career. My friend Sandeep Dev, and it's in India, has got a great YouTube channel about it too, and I recommend watching some of his videos. But in this particular case, to be a relatively good DevOps engineer, you should become a good software developer first. And then after you become a good software developer, then you should learn the DevOps tools. Jenkins, Spinnaker, Git, and there's a whole bunch of them. Now, also, DevOps engineers get really good and deploy a lot with automation, such as infrastructure as code. So get really good with Terraform. Get good with those critical languages that would be necessary to use that. Some are Golang, but there's a couple of languages that you need to know. Get really good at Python scripting, really good at automating. And then when you have those skills, then you can take the AWS DevOps Professional exam. Like, you're not going to learn any DevOps in that, but it will at least show that you've got the knowledge on how to do it on AWS, but it's the skills there. So remember this, nothing's taught in certification that gets anybody hired. Certifications are like the icing on a cake. What I'm talking about is the cake. You get the cake and that certification will be nothing for you. So build the cake and that's the cake. But also, I really do recommend my friend Sandeep Dev's YouTube channel. He's a really great DevOps engineer. He produces some very good content. Anthony, you were lost before watching the older recordings, but watching those recordings of being part of the live class, that makes a difference. Yes. Anthony, yes, that's why I encourage everybody to actually watch every one of those videos. And it's been a battle internal on my team. I wanted to leave them all as the second thing in there. Go watch your 500 hours of videos before you even start the other programs. And my team thought, Mike, it's looking pretty cluttered in there. Let's separate the classes out. But yeah, seriously, going through those sessions is absolutely critical. And I know when we initially spoke, I said, please do it. And I figured you were motivated, you had some really good goals and some good plans. The faster you get through them, and each one, you're going to pick up a lot of things. Each one has some special lessons in it. I kind of come from a martial arts background before medicine, martial arts. And in martial arts, if anybody saw the movie The Karate Kid, they had this Mr. Miyagi that was making some guy do wax on and wax off. And the reason he was doing it is the motion looked exactly like a block or a maki in Okinawan karate. So I pattern a lot of things in that are hidden in there. When I make the students present things back to me, I'm making them sell, giving interviews along the way in the class. So yeah, please watch those things. You'll learn so much more. You've been a network engineer for 10 years. How should I move to the cloud? What would you like to do on the cloud? And then I can tell you how you should move to the cloud. Because you couldn't just go from network engineer to network architect without some training. So what kind of network engineer have you been? Not that it really matters, because anybody can be anything they want. I've gotten psychologist cloud architect jobs with no experience. I even got a high school dropout a cloud architect job It's the world's biggest bank with no experience. No, he was smart and capable and powerful in every way. But the point is we can all be whatever we want. But the key is, what kind of things have you been doing in the past so we can use the experience? And also, what is your goal career? Then I can tell you how to move to the cloud. But there's lots of cloud jobs, and I don't know which one you want. So tell me your goals, and I'll help you get there. Otherwise, it's like you got to an airplane and you said, how do I get there? And I said, which plane to take? And I said, well, where do you want to go? Do you want to go to Bombay? Do you want to go to Bangalore? Do you want to go to Boston? Do you want to go to Bahrain? And where do you want to go? That helps us determine the path. So please let me know where you want to go, and then I can help you with the path. Networking is a great background, by the way, one of the best. Because what are we dealing with? The network in a data center has been virtualized, so it's got a good background there. You've been a network engineer with CCNP, CCMC. You want to move to the cloud again? It's the same thing. You're telling me certifications. Certifications are meaningless in my mind. What have you done? Are you designing multi-home BGP pairing sessions? Or are you configuring the BGP on the router? Are you designing an OSPF architecture? Or do you know to go to config T router OSPF1, network 10.0.0.0.0.0.0.3 area 0? So what are you doing? Are you designing the plan for the OSPF? Are you doing route summarization, route aggregation, etc.? What are you doing as a network engineer? And is it on the implementation side, the operations side, etc., etc., etc.? So that'll give me your background. And what do you want to be? Do you want to be a cloud architect? Do you want to be a cloud engineer? Do you want to be a cloud network architect, a cloud network engineer? All different pathways, and all require very, very different study plans. So let me know that, and I can help you. While we're waiting for the next one, if you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. Please, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, hit the bell, and tell a friend. We want to help as many people get cloud hired as possible. Mike, can you please tell me how to answer the why should we hire you question? You're already in your program and you're working your way toward a defensive cloud architect. Well, yes, Min, but or when we could probably even make it more personalized to you. But as a rule, if employers care about the following things: someone that is technically competent, someone that is trustworthy, someone that is energetic, enthusiastic, and passionate about the work, someone that's a team player, and someone that's willing to go above and beyond, you should hire me because I'm highly competent, I'm energetic, enthusiastic, and passionate about the work. I absolutely love technology. I like to bring out the best in others. I'm a great team player, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make you more successful. That's what I would say, or something to that effect. And I'm trying to think of you right now as opposed to me, because I've got my own elevator pitch, and I've got elevator pitches for certain people when you need it. But something like that would be something good that you can use as a starting point. Telling the hiring manager that you're everything that they dream about. Good question, though, Win. Thanks, Mike. At a high level, could you please discuss how to define security policies, just so you can see if you need to prepare now? If you have to ask that question, you need a lot of preparation on this. The security policy is the overarching document, the 50-page or 100-page document for the security framework of the organization. What a security policy looks like, who are the people in the incident command chain, who are the legal teams that we get involved in, who's dealing with the press in the event of a security briefing, what kind of physical security are we using around the building, what kind of security type platforms are we going to use for the building, what are we doing in terms of training of the people. Yeah, if you have to ask this question, realistically speaking, I'd say you could read the CISSP book, and that'll kind of give you how to put together a security policy. That'll give you half of it. in the CISSP curriculum, because that's really what the CISSP curriculum is about. It's how to write a security policy. But first, you have to know how to design security from the edge. What are you doing? What are you encrypting? When to encrypt it? When you're not encrypting it? How do you architect zero trust to work? How do you implement security across your WAN? What kind of encryption strategies are you using or not using, connectivity-wise? What kind of micro-segmentation could you be doing of the networking? What kind of, would you break your network into 1,000 VPCs and use BGP between them for further filtering? This is going to be part of your security policy. What is done to determine which systems are allowed on the network? What is done to prevent people from plugging in, for example, like 802.1x, so they can't plug into the network via an available switch port unless they've got the right MAC address. I mean, I could go on this, and good security policy could be a couple hundred pages long. So this is more of an executive thing, which is why it's the architect thing, not engineering. But I would say definitely go start Googling how to write a security policy. And I'd probably buy and read the CISSP book. The good news is you can read that probably if you read it about 500 to 1,000 pages a day, you can read that in 2 or 3 days. And I think that'll help you a lot with the interview. And I know that sounds like a lot, but when I'd have interviews, I would just read 1,000 pages a day. So that would be of everything that I thought would be there. And the CISSP is really junior level, but they do cover this pretty well. So there's that. So good luck with that. If you have other questions, I'm happy to answer that, but definitely get some training here. A lot of it. Are you referring to making your AC rules are uttered correctly so that I did not deny the traffic, and knowing that's not policy. That's implementation of a security concept on something that's basic intro engineering. This is big end-to-end architecture. So W, I'm going to make it very clear. Here's the difference between the engineer and the architect. The architect designs, presents, and sells. So what a security architect is going to do is somebody like me is going to go meet with the CEO of some $500 billion company. And I'm going to go in there as an enterprise architect, and I'm going to bring in a security architect with me. Now, the reason I'm going to bring the security architect, if I think it's a security problem, is as follows. I can't possibly know enough about security because I'm not a security architect. I'm an enterprise architect. And I'm going to bring in somebody that's going to have the deepest security knowledge in the organization as mixed with business knowledge. Now, they're not going to be a cloud security engineer, which is going to be more techy. They're going to be someone that knows overarching the whole security picture. I mean, and it's everything from identity and access management systems to logging systems to anti-malware systems to the right kind of firewall strategy with what are we doing with the logs and how are we visualizing the logs and we're running some machine learning on the logs. It's, and what to put in places. How do we secure our traffic from point A to B? How are we securing our storage? What kind of zero trust? I mean, it's the whole big picture. And typically speaking, when you do this, which is your architecture, that'll turn into a few hundred pages explaining, what's doing what, how it works, the expected traffic flow, where it can tune it, et cetera, et cetera. So this is what's done in pre-sales. So no, in architects, we don't ever touch the technology. Ever. We design it. Well, and that's one of the reasons I call things like the Security Plus or the AWS Advanced Networking kind of an intro to junior level security, because they're just scratching the surface. This is the big end-to-end picture design. How would you go secure Bank of America? How would you secure American Airlines? That's the question, and that's what they do. And I'll be bringing that architect with me for the reasons that's the only thing they do. And they know 10 times more about security than I know. And the good security architect does know 10 times more about security than I do. And then, because my world is networking or enterprise architecture, cloud architecture, same big picture. But I started out as a network architect and I'm real strong there. But in my days, now I like to play at the executive level, which is big picture. And I'm bringing the security architects and network architects, and I just lead the team. So there's all kinds of architectures. But remember, you have to really know security here. And the security policy is that long document that explains who does what, incident command, who contacts the media, what lawyer does what, who can inform whom, how, where, and when. All that stuff goes into this very long security policy. But it's a great question, and I could easily see how you mix that with the engineering side of the policy, which would be like a firewall policy. Absolutely. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on LinkedIn. Wow, we have so many things coming out for you coming soon to really help you with your career. You might want to follow us on LinkedIn as well. And this Thursday, join us for the completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. I'll tell you what you need to do to get hired. We'll cover everything, and it'll be on Zoom, so you can even come up Zoom and ask me questions in public. Live. We'll have fun. So you mentioned internships. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're saying that besides self-learning, internships before the actual job give you the knowledge of getting a job in the cloud? Now, actually what I said is you can't learn this stuff on the job. You have to learn it first. I want you to understand that an architect gets paid as much as a physician or a lawyer or an attorney. And as such, they need a tremendous amount of foundational knowledge. This is not the kind of job you can just learn in an internship. And no one will give anybody an internship as an architect or an engineer for the following reasons. If you don't have the right experience and you make a mistake, you can bankrupt the business, occur billions of dollars of damages in minutes, just by one click of the mouse wrong. So no. Now, I created a course that would teach people everything they needed. Our Cloud Architect Career Development Program or our Cloud Engineer Career Development Program. And because I knew my students needed experience, we created internships for our students where they do everything from working with server virtualization, working on AWS, working on Azure, building a cloud. Many of my students actually write blogs with us so they can be co-authored. 50 of my students are volunteering as part in a mission that's really critical to my heart, Cloud Heroes Africa, with my good friend Alphonse Shang. And we all volunteer and teach that. It's part of the internships that I do to get my students out there. I co-author books and blogs with my students to get their names out there so we can create internships for our students. But yes, I created an internship because nobody will give them out because you could literally bankrupt an organization in 5 seconds with the wrong mouse click. So no, you can't learn these on the job. But just like you can't learn being a doctor on the job or being a lawyer, you have to have the formal training. That's why we do it. But you can do it. You can definitely do it. And you can get some of this training on your own as well. Just build the deep, deep, deep foundations. These are fantastic jobs, but you got to build the house on a strong foundation, and then you can add to it. If the foundation is shaky, you don't get somewhere so far. And that's why places like in Greece, where I'm from, where people don't have a lot of money, they may build the foundation first, and then when they get a little money, they build the first set of walls, like with cinder blocks and cement, and then poof. And then after that, so that's the way you've got to build the fundamentals and then add on to it as you can. So, but all students and ours get some form of an internship so they can show employers that, yes, they've got experience, and then they look much more favorable in the eyes of the employer. Now, we have some formal internships and some informal that everybody gets, but everybody gets something that they can say as experience. So we teach them in classes what they need to learn. In between classes, they do videos and projects, and then the students do these other things as an internship to truly round out their skill set. That's how we train our people. Jay Don, can I explain an account manager in the cloud space? Absolutely. An account manager is a sales rep. And a sales rep is one of the most highly compensated people at all in the technology space. So typically speaking, you will have an account manager and an architect together when they speak to the customer. And the highest paid architects are the ones with the most business acumen, leadership skills, communication skills. the highest paid sales reps. The best business acumen, communication skills, leadership skills, CXO relevancy. So what will happen is when we go interact with the clients as part of a care team, the sales rep is really the one that focuses on the CEO, but the architects are also there to try to get a better understanding of the business requirements and technical requirements which come out of it, but also to show that there's some substance. See, the account managers are sales reps, so they'll sell anything to anybody. They typically don't know how any of it works, but they've got good business knowledge. So that architect is a hybrid sales rep plus technology professional that understands it. So we architects go with the account managers there. So the account manager makes presentations, entertains clients, goes to meetings, negotiates deals, gives presentations. Well, they kick off the business presentation and then they bring in the architect to deliver the solution because the business people wouldn't understand how it works. And they don't need to because that's not their job. They focus on more business. Jet Hunter is an exceptionally good job. I know account managers earning hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars per year because they exceed their goals. And they love it. So this person that works for one of these companies goes, gets business requirements, and sells it and negotiates it with the client. Now, good architects do the same thing, but they usually do it with the sales rep. AWS has them. They're called technical account managers, which are, interestingly enough, typically speaking, an entry-level role. But account managers, big account managers, global account managers, these can be some very big positions. Very big positions. And how do account managers be great? Well, they don't sell anything they wouldn't want to buy themselves. They're honest and ethical with their customers. They develop deep, broad relationships. They solve the customer's problems. And when something breaks, even though there's support, that account manager is there with dinners and drinks and anything they can to smooth over the relationship. Critical team. Excellent place to be in a recession because they're bringing money, and more money into the business. So that's why I love these architect roles and sales roles in a down economy. That's a great job. It's a sales rep. But at this level, it's not, here, get into the car. Imagine how good you're going to feel those soft, buttery leather seats. In this case, it's this $200 million technology solution we have for you. It's worth it because we can give you $200 million of improved sales, cut out $100 million of expenses, and do X, Y, Z. See, it's worth it for you. And give you a competitive advantage, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, that's what they do. Great question. Chris or Chow, you can bring in the next one. Billy Kwana, how much Linux knowledge does the cloud architect need? Not a lot. Now, we do need to understand the Linux architecture, meaning, what's the kernel do, the driver kind of concept. We need to understand about Linux hypervisors, which are used for the cloud. We need to understand how Linux works. But we're not really hands-on people. We're just not. Now, for my architects, I used to like to give them what I call Linux therapy. And it's even too much. But Linux therapy, which is always a good skill for the architect to use, and for anybody themselves, because knowing Linux is always a good skill. I used to recommend them just take their computer, back up their data, wipe off Windows, install Ubuntu Linux or Red Hat Linux, or CentOS or some flavor of Linux off of Red Hat, like CentOS, and use it as their primary desktop. Install things from the command line, and 6 days later, you've got a good enough knowledge of Linux all you'll need to know for an architect. Really. For an engineer, well, they need to be Linux engineers for cloud engineers. But nope, not for cloud architects. A little bit of Linux therapy like that, and that's more than enough skills that you'll ever need. My students, they do some Linux projects, including building a cloud on Linux. So, they get a lot more than this. But honestly, some of the stuff we do in our course is excessive tech-wise with our students. Like, we don't need to go as deep tech-wise as we actually do, but we do it for the following reason. I don't want them getting spooked on an interview, and I want them to be the best in the world. So I do everything I can to give my students too much of everything they need and nothing of the stuff they don't. And that way they don't focus their time on things that don't matter. They focus on exactly what matters, and that's how you win. That's why an Olympian trains for their sport, not somebody else's game. That's why a doctor trains for their specialty, not somebody else's. And that's why architects need to train for our specialty and not engineering. Likewise, engineers need to train for engineering and not architecture. Two equally great jobs, just different careers. Thanks. You've been doing mostly enterprise networking design and implementation. So you're doing more engineering. Okay. Cisco VSS, firewalls, OSPF, branch VPNs. Now you feel stuck and you don't know where to go from here. Okay. So where do you want to go? Do you want to be an architect or an engineer? I still don't know what you want to do. What would you like to do? If you'd like to become a cloud architect, I can really help you there. If you'd like to be a cloud engineer, which is a network engineer on the cloud, I can help you there. So the question becomes is, what do you actually enjoy? If you are tired of sitting behind a desk and you are tired of configuring and you just don't want to do it anymore, but you've got good knowledge and you've got good knowledge, then a cloud architect role would be much better. In the cloud architect role, you're going to be like one of those people that work for Cisco and come to talk to you. And, they come, they take you to lunch, they demo they demo a few things or bring in somebody to demo it, and then they go home, right? So a cloud architect designs, presents, and sells. Now, a cloud architect is an executive position, which means the cloud architect typically works less hours than the engineer, although they get called at more weird hours. The architect typically earns much more because they're bringing money in. But the architect is someone that designs, presents, and sells. So the architect is going to be writing documents, white papers, thought leadership information, responding to RFIs, RFPs, RFQs, delivering presentations, presenting at conferences, leading large teams of engineers and architects to design things, building some ROI models or business models for the customer, and entertaining clients with a company credit card. It's a great job. Now the cloud engineer is going to be just like a network engineer, but now instead of just doing the routers and switches, now it's the routers, the switches, as well as the virtual machines, the Linux systems, etc., 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 etc. So it's just more systems to learn. But tell me which job you want, and then I can help you. But if you're feeling stuck, I can tell you pretty much one thing. In most cases, when people are stuck as engineers, it's because they're focusing on the wrong things. When most engineers get stuck, what they do is they get a certification, a certification, a certification, a certification, a certification. And here's the problem. That doesn't get you unstuck. There's only a certain level our technical competency or our IQ or intelligence gets us. To go from here to here, it's all about emotional intelligence development, empathy, executive presence, communication skills, leadership skills, business acumen, CXO relevancy. And that's the key to getting unstuck in any of these careers. But if you tell me your goal, I really want to help you. My CCIE number is 7417. I was once a network engineer myself. I loved it. I spent a decade at Cisco as well. So lots of help. I've helped lots of people do this, get an in-and-out call from networking. Had somebody that I got hired by AWS within 3 weeks of my program as a senior solution architect, his first cloud job, but he had great networking experience. So I can absolutely help you. So just let me know your goals and I'd love to help you. Of course, let's go to another one in the meantime. Ken Block. You first got your CCNA in 2013 and worked with switching and routing up to date. Your interest is DevOps. What do you think is your best pathway to work with AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud? Well, if you want to go from routing and switching to DevOps, it's going to be extremely brand new career. I recommend you following my friend Sandeep does. So the first thing you'll need to do is become a good software developer. So after you become a good software developer, and because now if you wanted to go from where you're at to a cloud architect, that'd be relatively easy. But if you want it, because networking and architecture go beautifully together, but if you want to do DevOps, so first you're going to have to become a software developer and get really good at writing software, at least coding it, really good skills. Then, after you're a good software developer, then learn the DevOps tools. Jenkins, Spinnaker, Git, and there's probably 50 of them, and you need to master them and understand how they all work, or at least the majority of the main ones. Then you can do something like an AWS DevOps professional, etc. You're getting into the cloud tools. But even then, it's about being great at what you do, making sure you understand the DevOps career so well that you can position your resume to show that you know exactly the skills are for the job. That means asking other accomplished DevOps engineers, not people in the certification world, because they just want to sell certifications. So again, since I'm not a DevOps engineer, but I think it's a good career, I recommend you go to Sandeep Daz's channel. It's on YouTube. He's a personal friend. He comes to me with architecture stuff, like for people when they want guidance on architecture careers. I've been on his YouTube channel for that. I send my people to him that want to do DevOps because I truly trust him and I really like him. So I'd say Sandeep Das is where I would go. But that's not my biggest area of expertise. But I will tell you this. It would become much easier for you to work for AWS, Google, or Azure as a cloud architect than it would be for a DevOps engineer, because what does an architect do? They design network and data center solutions. And chances are you may actually have some networking knowledge and background and maybe understand how to design things, how to design your routing, your switching, your IP addressing, those kind of things. And if you do, with a network engineering background, it'd be much, much easier for you to get a cloud architect job, which would also have much higher pay. But if you want to do DevOps engineering, it's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I love it. It's a great career, but it's just not one that we teach. But Sandeep Das does, so I would actually look to him. He's got a lot of good free training on that, and DevOps engineer skills on his YouTube channel. A lot of good free training. Thank you for the question. Chris, want to bring in the next one? Okay, when I see, I see. When you put it that way, I feel very confident about the interview. Good. Thank you so much, Mike. Good, you're welcome. W, do our live classes give enough training to be a security architect? You have no experience. Interesting. So W, there's a really nice video of a nice young 25-year-old Delroy Bat. We interviewed him, I guess, 2 Tuesdays ago. So Delroy came to me about 18 months ago. No, 13 months ago. And 13 months ago, he came to me and he found me on YouTube like a lot of people did. And in those days, when I didn't get 3,000 emails a day and wasn't on meetings all day long, I actually got to talk to him. And he said, I've been on like 18 or 20 security architect, or I'm sorry, security engineer interviews, and nobody wants me. So I said, okay. And I asked him a couple of questions and I knew why. I said, we can put you in our cloud architect career development program. About a year, you'll be a great cloud security architect. And he says, really, Mike? He said, I don't even have a college degree. I have an associate degree. I don't even have a 4-year degree. And I said, Delroy, of course you can. So here's what happened. He was in our program for 3 weeks. He bought a couple of private interview practice sessions. By 3 weeks, he had 3 security engineer offers. 3 of them. And he'd been on 20 interviews. Within 3 weeks, he had 3 offers. He accepted a very good one, and continued to do my program. And you can see the video on YouTube. As it turned out right now, he just got hired by a very good multinational company as a cloud security architect. And you can watch the interview. And it was funny. Somebody asked, why should we pay for your training when you done me $15? And I asked him, and I said, Delroy, where are you now? And he said, a cloud security architect job. I said, how long did it take to get there? And he said, a year. I said, did you have any fancy degrees? And he said, an associate degree. I said, do you have any experience? He said, 0. I said, right now, can you afford to buy a beautiful brand new 4-bedroom single family home and 2 brand new Mercedes. Could you do it and still save money at the end of each month? And he said, yes. And then people watched him speak. So you can see his videos on our channel. Somebody from my team popping in there. But yes, we took a person with no background, got him his first cloud security architect. His name is Delroy Bat. I'm proud to call him a friend. Apparently, he even came to Florida and visited me and helped me pick out my new TV. He helped me pick out a really good one, actually. My wife was totally impressed. She didn't even yell at me for the cost when she saw how good it looked. But yes, we can help you. So yes, we give you enough training, and we keep you in until you're hired, or a year passes and nobody needs a year. Cloud curious. How did I start my career in tech? Well, I used to practice internal medicine before I moved to tech. So I started in internal medicine, which I liked. But here's the thing. I love tech. And going back to about 25 years ago, my wife, she's a great wife. She puts up with a lot. So what happened was I was practicing internal medicine from, say, 7 to 3, doing rounds on my patients until, say, 5 p.m. at night. And I'd get home, and I had a room with, I was spending like $30,000 a year on computers a long time ago. I know it's crazy, but I was, because I loved it. It was probably $50,000, $60,000 a year now. And this room sounded like a jet engine was in there, and I was just building routers and switches. I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So I decided to get a career in tech. So I did what everybody else did. I called the local school. They told me I needed a certification. 20-some years ago, I spent $5,000 for this 5-day MCSE boot camp. Nobody cared, was interested in me. Then I took a CCNA course. Actually, I did that one on my own. Then I took a 10-day, $11,000 CCNP boot camp 20 years ago, and guess what? And came back with CCNP. Nobody cared. Then I got a CCDA, a CCDP. I was 6X certified. I sent out 5 resumes, and I got 5 rejections. It was like, okay. And they all say, you don't have any degrees in tech, no experience in tech. How can we hire you? So what I did, since you're curious about this, is I called a recruiter in California, because I know I wasn't allowed to move out of Philadelphia because we translate Greek to English and English to Greek for my family. So no, I couldn't move. And the recruiter spent 45 minutes on the phone with me and told me everything employers wanted in the perfect network engineer. And I went, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. I wrote it all down. And then I called 50 more recruiters, wrote it all down. By the end, I had a master list of everything that employers wanted in the perfect network engineer. I tuned up my resume, went on my first job interview, and got hired as a senior network engineer, not even a network engineer. Because what happened was I knew exactly what my customer wanted, my customer being the hiring manager. I built a list of what the 50 recruiters told me they needed, and I figured out exactly how to show those hiring managers that I was those things and became those things, and that's how I started my career in tech. That's also how I developed my career management system to help people transition careers, and why I've been doing it for 20 years, because I think that we can all do anything we want. People always want to tell me about their history. I've been doing this for 20 years. Can I do this? And I say, it doesn't matter what you've done in your past. We can all do anything we want. All of us. People ask me about their 10 years of experience, and I'll give them a shoe salesman that is now working as a cloud architect after taking our program, or a psychologist that's now working as a cloud architect after our program, or a landscaper that's now working as a cloud architect. I can give you example after example. So I didn't start my career in tech. I started my career in medicine. I actually think that's what really helped me. And medicine taught me 2 really important things that saved my tech career. In medicine, it's all about how deep can we get in our skill sets? How do we become the expert at our niche? And what I learned was, I was wondering why my first job was a senior network engineer, and why I was a lead architect 6 months later, and the people that I worked with that had 10 years experience were not. And here's the reason. For medicine, I learned to be an expert at your job, not worry about everybody else's job. Let them do their job, just be good at yours, and know who the right people are to team up with. That's what I did for medicine. That's how I built my tech career. What do most people do? They get 10X certified. And you know what they really learn? Nothing about nothing, because when you try and scatter your energy in 10,000 places, you basically know nothing about nothing. So that's what I did. And I've been using that with my people forever. But no, I didn't start my career in tech. I actually, what do you call it? I started in internal medicine, which occasionally I still volunteer and practice as a nurse practitioner practicing internal medicine. Still do it sometimes. Love it, but not as much as tech. Tech's my dream. And I don't really work. I know it sounds crazy, but like Mark Twain said, when you make your vacation, which is your holiday, your vocation, you'll never work a day in your life. I did that. I left medicine, went into tech, and no matter how many hours a day I work, it's just fun for me. Just another day at the beach, and then I go to the beach. Love the question, Cloud Curious. Gee, is there a reason like cloud security internships are almost non-existent compared to solution architect internships? Yeah, there's no real security architect internships either. And when they give people security architect internships, they turn them into grunts doing engineering work. They do the little research and things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the reason is as follows: why they will never let anybody do a real internship as an architect. The person that's doing the design could destroy the business without knowing what they're doing. So no, that's not a job for somebody that's never learned before. And then you think, how do we get people hired as architects? Well, we've taught them architecture, we've taught them system design, we've taught them system presentation, and they know how to do the job. And then the employers look at them and say, wow, competent, energetic, enthusiastic communication, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, you really can't do any of these things on an internship basis from very much. And I know which silly solution architect internships I've seen, but none of the people are learning architecture there. But at least it gives them something to put down on their resume, which is good. Helps them get the interview. No, they still have to learn that knowledge to get the job. Join us for the 4-hour resume workshop. Average student at Go Cloud Careers gets bombarded. I have one student that gets 8 to 10 requests per day every day. That's not normal, but he's pretty good on LinkedIn. And just bombarded with recruiters trying to hire them. So if you're in our program, obviously it's free. But if you're not and you want to take a part in our next resume workshop, please join us. The link is in the description below in the chat box. W, will you perform risk assessments and vulnerability assessments as a pre-sale security architect? No. Architects design, present, and sell. We never touch the technology, ever. Now, you will have some engineers in your team that will come in and baseline and do vulnerability assessments. Absolutely, but architects don't do that. So that's why you must have so much business knowledge, so much executive communication skills, so much leadership skills, because you're going to be leading teams of these engineers doing these things, and then proof of concepts too. So much sales skills to convince the managers in your company to give you these valuable, expensive resources. But no, you'll be asking risk assessment questions, all kinds of them. And from there, that'll help you with your architecture. But vulnerability assessments, no, you're going to have an engineer do that for you. A security engineer in your team. That's why there's engineers versus architects. Good question. Ken, yes, that's the key. I just want to get you all to your goals. I know what I know, which is networking careers, because I've gotten people in network architect jobs, enterprise architect jobs, network engineer jobs for decades. I've gotten probably I know it's over 100 people cloud architect jobs this year. Cloud engineer jobs, I'm getting people. These are the world I know. But if it's DevOps, which I think is a great career, my good friend Sam D specializes in that. We exchange ideas all the time because we both want the best for our students. So thank you so much. Please keep coming back. Anything we can do to help you. Continue. What you want is to strengthen what you have already to expand to the cloud. Okay, again, I don't know how to say this any other way. What you ate for dinner yesterday does not affect what you eat tomorrow. So what would you like to do? Would you like to be a cloud architect or would you like to be a cloud engineer? Either one is going to take as much learning. It's going to be the same thing. What do you want to do? If you're asking me which is easier, probably easier to be an architect because there's less to learn and more business to do. But the bigger question is, what do you want to do? You know, you can't do a job that you don't enjoy. You just can't. You can't. And I'll give you, Romanik Ivan Tamba, hired by AWS without a college degree while he was still in school. His last job was serving food. Daniel Bosu was selling shoes, and he's now working as a cloud architect. Jennifer is a psychologist that's now working as a cloud architect. Jermaine was a landscaper who's now working as a cloud architect, all in less than a year. Jeffrey West, who we have a video of him, was doing some kind of weird, cool geospatial imaging kind of thing, but this is his first tech job. I could go on and I can go on, and I've been going on. It's not what you can do. You can be anything you want. Unless you're like an axe murderer with a massive prison record, you can be whatever you want. What would you like to do? Do you want to be a pilot, a flight attendant, a lawyer, a doctor? And does it really matter if one is a little harder to get to, if it makes you truly happy for the rest of your life? I mean, I'm getting people these jobs that have never even seen a router or switch in their entire life, and they're getting there. What's going to make you happy? You're allowed to do anything you want. There's no rule person ruling saying you can only do this. No. What would you like to do? Seriously. And if one takes you 2 months more than another, and the grand next 30, 40 years of your life, and one you really love what you're doing, you're not working, versus one you hate your job and you can't wait to get home, that's when you're stuck. You said you were stuck. I want to get you unstuck. And getting you unstuck isn't finding the fastest thing we can do, because then you're going to be stuck again. It's getting you the thing that's going to make you happy and make you fulfilled. And when you do a job you love, you enjoy it. It's not hard work. And then you're better at it. And then you get paid more and promoted more. And then you're never stuck. You get progressive mobility because you're excited about it. If you don't like it, you're not going to go above and beyond. Nobody's going to recognize you. You're not going to be getting raises and promotions. So how do we make you happy? What would you like to do? Tell me that, and I really want to get you there. Chris, you want to get to one of Elijah's? It looks like it's popped up a few times.
Oh, I can, but it's popped up 3 times in 2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So I'll get to it when we get to it in order.
Makes sense. Good point. Mike, I've watched Delroy's video and very much want to know what's included in vulnerability management. When? I don't know. I've never done vulnerability management because he did this as an engineer. He's not a cloud security architect. I had to ask him the same question. But generally speaking, vulnerability management is, scanning things, looking for weaknesses, whether it be patch levels, antiviruses, those kind of things. It's typically, scanning for security vulnerabilities. But the specifics of what he did in his job, I have no idea. Is it possible to shift career to a cloud solution architect? Of course. I don't have any experience in this field. How can you move forward after your solution architect certifications? Now, surrender, here's the thing. Yes, you can become a cloud architect or a solution architect. But I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to learn any of it in certifications. And if certifications is your plan, you're not going to get there in less than 10 years. And here's why. If you only use certifications, what has to happen is you'll have to take the lowest, most junior role in the world called a cloud admin. And then you'd have to do this role for a couple of years to get enough experience to become a cloud engineer. And then you'd have to get enough experience to potentially be able to become a cloud architect. And then you'd have to unlearn everything you know about being an engineer and then learn how to be an architect. And the reason why is, a solution architect is a business executive with technology background. Here's what we do. We design, present, and sell. So you need to be able to look straight in the eye in a business meeting as a CEO of a $500 billion company, because you're going to be doing that as a cloud architect. You're going to be doing that. You're going to be presenting to CEOs, CFOs, CFOs. You've got to develop those expertise. You're going to be writing business proposals, responding to requests for information, requests for proposal, requests for quotes. You're then going to be delivering presentations, performing at executive briefings, writing thought leadership documentation, speaking to the press. We do all this kind of stuff as architects and entertain clients. And then you're going to have to design an end-to-end solution, from the security to the network, to the data center, to the servers, to the storage, to the applications, end to end. And you're going to have to lead a team of about 50 people that's going to design this architecture with you. Now, in a basic certification, such as the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, here's what they teach: and the name of a service and how to configure that service. Now, surrender, here's the problem. Architects design, present, and sell. We don't configure anything. Anything. We design it. Just like a building architect designs a building. The building architect doesn't use the hammer. They don't use a screwdriver. They make blueprints for the building. Well, the cloud architect does the same thing. Now, what are these certifications? They're a name of a service and how to configure that. It's the construction crew, how to use the hammer. But it's worse than that, surrender. When we talk to customers, they won't listen to these names that we're taught in certification. If I talk to a customer about an S3 bucket, they'll laugh at me, kick me out of the room, I'll be fired, and my replacement will say, "Thank you, Mike, for the nice job." And here's the reason why: we cloud architects and solution architects need to be trusted advisors. When we use silly marketing terms like they teach in certifications, you know what it shows the world? We're biased. We're biased. So we can't do that. So we've got to look impartial. So we've got to talk in terms of block storage or object storage or virtual machines or no SQL databases. So there's that. So I want you to really think of it. The architect is like a doctor. The doctor interviews a client. They ask some questions. They come to a diagnosis based upon everything they've been trained about assessment and question answering, and then they build the plan. The architect does the same thing. They're like the doctor. They interview the client to see what the main problem is they're trying to solve. Then they examine the systems by bringing in engineers. Then they make a diagnosis and a plan called an architecture. So it's the same job. So a doctor needs to know how to diagnose. An architect needs to know how to diagnose by asking the right questions and examining the systems. Now imagine if the doctor was given 3 sets of pills: a yellow pill, a blue pill, and a red pill, and said, "Here, hand it out." Now, would the doctor know which pill to give and when? No, because they didn't teach them that. Would they know whether it's a heart attack or a headache? No, because they didn't teach them that. So here, they'd be randomly handing out pills. Now here's the certification. Here's the name of a service and how to configure it, not how it works, not what it does. So no, certifications won't get you there. But, you know, the business executive acumen that you get out of an MBA would get you there. Of course, we teach all these skills without the MBA. And then you need the design skills, which come out of the network and data center. Things such as BGP and OSPF and IP addressing, subnetting, and supernetting. Which kind of WAN technologies to use, whether it's an IPsec tunnel, SSL-based VPN, software-defined networking, SASE, private line, Ethernet over MPLS kind of thing. You know, what switching, things like spanning tree and rapid spanning tree, and VLANs and VLAN tagging and VLAN trunking, etc. None of that stuff's covered in certification, but it's all stuff critical for the job. So yes, you can do it. We do it constantly with our cloud architecture development program, constantly. But certification alone, unfortunately, is not going to do that for architect jobs. Doesn't matter that you don't have experience, because like I said, Delray Bat recently got one, Jennifer recently got one, Jermaine recently got one, Daniel recently got a job, Yvonne recently got a job, Coyote recently got a job, many of them in actually AWS and others at big global banks, and none of them had any experience at all prior to our program. But they're all amazing in many different ways. Just joined, you may have already answered this, but do you need CCNA and AWS certs before joining our course? Of course not. We have no prerequisites whatsoever. We prefer you have none. That way you don't have any bad habits that we have to teach you to unlearn. We feel that people should bake the cake before they put the icing on the cake. We teach the cake. We also teach the icing too, but we teach the cake. And here's the thing. When you're good and you know the cloud, certifications are nothing. You want to know how nothing? The only cloud I didn't work on was the Google Cloud, so I thought it would be fun to take the Google Professional Cloud Architect exam to prove a point to my buddy that if you know AWS or Azure or any cloud and you truly understand the cloud, not what's taught in certification, you can pass a test in any one. So I spent 2 days reading the Cybex book on passing the Google Professional Cloud Architect exam and passed it the next day, and it was the simplest exam with a near perfect score. So the key is, I don't want you to have these certifications. If you have them, that's fine. We work with them. But if not, I'd rather build your baseline, teach it to you correctly, and then take your exam. It's like, what you'll do in the exam will get you there. And if it takes you 6 months to do these certifications, and the average cloud architect earns about $12,000 a month, it's going to cost you $72,000, because once we get you, it's still going to take us the same amount of time. It's not going to be faster because you're certified, because you only have the icing. You still need the same cake. But by dealing with us, you get in and out faster, potentially 6 months faster, which is $72,000 for the average cloud architect, at least in the US. So no, we'll build your foundations and then we'll make the certifications nothing for you to do. Really basic, nothing. And when you have knowledge and competence, you realize how basic they actually are. If you just try to read them out of a book with no experience, they're hard, but not when you know what you're doing. And I learned that when I was younger with my CCNA things. The CCNA was relatively easy. The CCNP, boy, those questions felt hard. The CCIE, well, it felt hard at the time. And then after some experiences, I got to tell you, the CCIE would be nothing for me to do again, but it was a massive challenge, but I had no background. So when you know what you're doing, it's easy, but it nearly killed me the first time. It was really rough. 6 months of reading 1,000 pages a day and practicing labs almost every day for 6 months. Even spent $40,000 on to do it. That's all the equipment I had to buy and rent. How will you baseline an organization systems as an architect? You'll bring in a team of cloud security engineers and ask them to do it. And they will run the right tools. You better have some good leadership skills, because you're going to have to make people want to do it by leading through influence. I think you're getting the message now. Design, present, and sell. There's no hands-on ever. Victor, the cloud architect is responsible for the architecture. That means the 200 or 300 page document that goes along with all the architecture diagrams. And not only is it a diagram, it's explaining, how does this work? How does this fail? How does this scale? What are the components necessary to make this work? So yeah. We don't just draw the picture. We're going to be writing a 2 or 3 page version of it for the executive team, like the CEO, CTO, CFO. We're going to write a 30-page document for the management team, potentially a 200-page document for the technical teams that are going to have to build it. And we're going to be doing this responsible. We're going to be bringing in teams of 30 or 40 people to potentially do different parts of the architectures. Meaning the cloud security architect may do the firewall strategy and security policy, while the cloud network architect focuses on the BGP and the routing and switching, etc. And the data architect focuses on data. So we're responsible for tying all those pieces together and writing the document of how everything works. And the things that we can't write ourselves because they're in other people's domains, we've got to coordinate their responses into a document and then tune them to feel like they came from a single person. And then that means going back and forth. So yes, that's the main job. But the good news, we don't have to get hands-on. No cutting or configuring, folks. But yeah, document. As my friends used to call it, a pencil pusher's job. You guys may not know what pencil pushers are. They used to be office workers or the managers, but yeah, this is a pencil pusher job. Hakeem, do I have any regrets or things I would have done differently during my career? Just one, Hakeem. Early in my career, and thankfully I got out of this mistake within 2 years. I was way too focused on the tech. I was tech. I was known as one of the IP multicast experts in the world. I was Mr. Tech. And I was so good at it that there was a really good position that was open in my company. As a kid, it was director of a consulting systems architects team. And I said to my manager, I wanted the job. And he said, Gibbs, I can't give it to you. And I said, why? I said, it's a leadership skills thing. I know. I said, is it this thing? And I said, no. And he said, because you were too good at your job. He said, you're responsible for so much of this business that I can't afford to lose you by being the leader. Who's going to do what you do now? And I said, you just told me that because I'm too good, I can't promote it. Did I hear you correctly? Well, I know it sounds bad. I said, did I hear you correctly that I've done too good of a job that's keeping me from going ahead? And he said, unfortunately, yes. I said, okay, here's my 2 weeks notice. You could think, I'm like, no, I don't want to ever be in that position where I've ever been put in that place again. So yeah, I was too technical. And Akeem, what I learned in my career was when I focused on being technical, it didn't get me anywhere. And it was almost like the better of a techie I was, the more I was like, great, Mike's the guy that's going to go fix your problem. But the people that were a little better dressed, focusing on their charm and charisma, were earning more and getting better positions. And I actually had a manager that went there and I said, you know what? I'm going to change the way I dress. I'm going to communicate a little differently. I'm going to not know how to do certain things. And I'm going to recommend other people. I'm going to lead meetings. I'm going to host dinners. I'm going to try to be the leader and teach what I know to others. Oof. As I pretended not to know, here was a $50,000 raise. And I was like, huh? Mike, you're a really good leader. And I went, yeah. Why was I so focused on the tech in the beginning? I should have been focused on my leadership skills. And that was really the key, was learning that, you know, for me, the goals that I had could not be met by just learning the tech. It was all emotional intelligence and leadership skills, executive presence, communication, etc. And when a manager told me that 20 years ago, and I learned that, it doubled my salary almost overnight. It gave me a job that I truly loved. I got to make a difference in all the places that I went and the things that I designed. It was just the best job in the world for me. So things that I probably wouldn't have studied internal medicine first. I would have gone straight to tech. And I wouldn't have been such a great techie early in my tech career. I would have focused more on the business acumen and the leadership communication skills. Just that. But Hakeem, when I figured that out, it was like a rocket ship for me. And it's like a rocket ship for all the people that follow my advice. Because when they learn those skills, it makes them stand out way and above everybody else. If you join your course and only watch the security portions of your live classes and security modules along with the soft skills, will that give you enough competency? Probably not. Probably not. I don't think you realize how big this architecture position actually is. You know, I know lots of architects that easily earn $300,000 to $500,000 a year. And in order to do that, they've got to be great. They've got to have great competency, great executive presence, great communication skills, great leadership skills, the ability to know what they know and don't know. But you got to be great. And unfortunately, we're not great by trying to skip certain steps. If you don't learn the networking piece, which we teach, and half of the security is on the network, you'll be lost. If you don't understand the kind of applications that these organizations have, then you won't know how to secure them. If you don't understand the wackiness of what we have to do in the cloud to get to the security levels of the base network and data center, just watching the video, I mean, you're going to need to participate in some of the courses. It really, because what it feels like is trying to learn when you get into a car, trying to learn the gas and just keep pushing the gas without knowing how to use the brake. You got to learn to drive and learn the whole thing. So I'd love to train you, and I can help you get a great cloud security architect job, but you have to do the work. I'm not going to lie about it. It's a lot of work. My students that do the work, wow, they really, really do well. But as a rule, my students that don't do the work, they're not really a student. And if you don't do the work, you can't get the results. Say the same thing to my patients in medicine. I can send you to physical therapy, but if you don't go, it's not going to help you. So would you need to attend less of those classes and focus more on the security? Absolutely. But you still need to have your foundations. You can't secure something that you don't understand what it is. And chances are, if you don't know what I mean by layer 2 MAC address list and 802.1x and QoS and what that can do for security and some of these other things and the identity systems, you need to understand how they interact with all these applications. And we'd love to work with you, and we could definitely get you to your goals as long as you do the work. That's the key for anyone. I had somebody that did call me and say, Mike, I bought your course. I'm not getting anywhere. I said, we logged in and I said, you haven't opened it yet. And he said, well, I bought your course. I said, but you haven't started yet. And he said, do I have to do the work? I said, yeah, you got to do the work. I said, do the work. Let's have another conversation. We're about to wrap it up, but I can maybe do 1 to 2 more questions. You're more than welcome, Surinder. Hi, Mike. Does this basically mean the cloud architect career is suitable only for extroverts, while introverts are more suited to cloud engineer? Not necessarily. Okay, here's a secret. And if you ever watched the video with Alvin DaCosta and me, Alvin's the VP over at NVIDIA, Albert let the cat out of the bag and said, Mike's an introvert, because I am. I'm the first person in my party to go sit with my wife in the corner, hang out with my cat in a room full of people if I can, but I train myself not to be. So it's about preparing for the job you want. If I was going to be a Navy SEAL, I'd start before I got to buds. I'd make sure I could swim and run, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you train yourself. We can all do anything we want. It's all training. Look, I was injured and by 13 doctors told me I'd never walk again. All 13 of them. I had an injury that was so bad, 2 people wanted to put me in a medically induced coma. And I was like, no. And try some experimental procedure. And I said, no. Now, I made it had to do physical therapy for 8 hours a day for 8 years straight. But I walk up and down the stairs in my house each day. Not far, but still do it. And I'm able to sit here with you today to do this. So we can all do anything we want. You can pick any career that you desire. Just be great at it. What kind of salary can a cloud engineer get after completing your course? And what's the max senior cloud engineers can earn? So, this is the thing, and I'm going to teach you the difference between a $100,000 engineer and a $300,000 distinguished engineer, something a manager told me many years ago. So as a rule, we expect our cloud engineer graduates in the range of 110 to 120 on average. Now, if they have more experience, prior to coming to us, the answer is they'll earn more. But typically speaking, they normally top out at around 160 to 180, even if they're great. Now, I'll give you the secret that my manager told me 20 years ago. I had a manager that said, Mike, you're a little different than the rest of these engineers. Stop focusing on tech. Stop focusing on certifications. Focus the impact you can make on someone. And he said, the difference between a $150,000 sales engineer and a $300,000 architect, enterprise architect, or a $300,000 distinguished engineer. And I said, no, tell me. And he said, it's the impact you make on your organization. It's not just your technical competency. He said that's critical, but it's your leadership skills, it's your sales skills, it's your executive presence, your emotional intelligence, your CXO relevancy, your business acumen, your presentation skills, your executive writing skills, etc. He said, you do that and you'll be there. Now, here's the thing. In my course, I actually teach the executive skills to the architects and engineers both. And why do I have the engineers going into one of these crazy leadership development programs? For 2 reasons. Reason 1, it makes them earn more money. And when you've got no experience, someone that feels so much better to you is the person that gets hired. And if I also told you this, that 50% of your interview score is related to your competency and 50% is related to the rest, executive communication, leadership, presence, all of it, guess what? You can win the interview when you have no experience. And if that's not enough, the long-term career progression, all of it. So after doing ours, we expect our people with 2 to 3 years experience to be earning about $200,000 a year as a good cloud engineer. But cloud architect, cloud engineer, both wonderful, wonderful, wonderful careers. Wonderful. But it's a matter of doing what makes you happy. The thought of presenting to executives is uncomfortable to you. I get it. The thought of coding is uncomfortable to me. That's why I'm an architect. And architects are nothing without the engineers. I make PowerPoints and they make it reality. Equal. It's just, you got to do what you love. If you guys haven't hit the like button, if you can do so, if you liked it. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. I must end today because I've got meeting after meeting after meeting today, but if you can give me a cloud hired in the chat box. And then I look forward to seeing you in another session on Wednesday. Cloud hired, everyone.